Hi there. Today's Road to 50 Million is about a phrase, I am my word. In some circles, that's said a lot, and it means lots of things. But remember, this whole thing that I'm doing, 50 million, is I have a goal to help 50 million people to discover their divine gifts and to learn to serve with them. Forgot my light. However they want to, however you want to. So my goal, the reason I'm doing this is to help you, if you want help, to discover your divine gifts and then serve with them. Why would I do that? Well, I have discovered we're happiest. I'm happiest when I'm serving. I'm happiest when I'm helping and when I'm adding good to the world. And it even doubles when I'm using gifts that I have. Like I can go help and do things that I'm not particularly good at. And I can add good to the world, and I can be in companionship with people and do lots of good there. But I add the most good to the world when I'm doing stuff that I have talent in, and I do it well, and it comes easily and powerfully. And so do you. So finding your gifts is an important piece of life. It's an important piece of living well and living with purpose, prosperity, and joy. And those are the three words I use to describe the ultimate life, a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. And that's what I live now after much work and discovery. And like people say, the truth of all that is inside of you. Of course it is, because you're a divine being. You were created, you were sent here with those gifts, and so was I. So let's go back to the phrase, I am my word. Well, one way to think about it is honesty, what we speak. So when I think about that, and I have something I call a PTAC, a personal truth and commitment statement. Some people call it a personal document. Some people call it a document of being. However you label it, it is your declaration of who you are in the universe. Not because you're perfect and not because anybody agrees, but just because you said so. It is who you have decided to be. So in my PTAC, I use the phrase, I am my word. And then I go on and elaborate a little bit, and I say, I speak only truth. That was a really hard one for me, especially, just for different reasons. When I was young and got punished in ways that today would be felony child abuse, I learned to lie a lot. I learned to lie to protect myself, even if it just put the punishment off for a day or two or a week, or if I could hide stuff. Then I realized that I could remember all of what I said, and so I began to lie a lot. And because somehow I imagined it made my life easier. And maybe it did in terms of facilitating relationships with others. I don't know, because I never experienced life the other way. But what I know is that it became such a habit that I lied without even thinking sometimes. And I remember thinking in the midst of these decades of depression, which for me lasted from my mid-teens till I was 52, when I had an abrupt couple of events, it's a series of events that offered me the opportunity to wake up and completely change my life. And by completely, I mean completely. And if you want to know the story, it's in the book Tightrope of Depression. It's on Amazon. Yeah, I'm not saying it because yay me, I'm saying if you're interested in that. And one of the things that I notice is when people read it, they tell me that they resonate with lots of it. That's the reason I wrote it. I wrote it for three reasons. One, I felt like I needed to just tell my story to get it organized, not to impress anyone or do anything, but I just felt like I wanted to tell it. And the main two reasons I wrote it was so that others would know they're not alone, so that you, if you feel struggles of not good enough, self-sabotage, self-loathing, or depression, that you would understand that that's not unusual, and there's somebody else or some whole bunch of buddies else that felt that and know it and more importantly, that there's a way past it. And the third reason I wrote it is because there are those who live with and love people who are deeply struggling. And I offered some thoughts that might be helpful there, I hoped. The most important thing that I learned to do, I don't know, the most, right up there in the top 3 or 4, is I learned to tell the truth. I learned to tell the truth. And I learned that what being essentially a pathological liar did to me was that I didn't remember what was truth anymore. I created my world as I went along. And I lived in the world that I created. And so did everybody else. I got so good at it. And there were a few people that, very few, that sort of felt something was off, but the whole thing was off, right? So learning to tell the truth all the time. So the first qualifier when I say I am my word is I speak only truth. Now I'm saying all this to you because my goal here is to help you discover and serve with your gifts. Are you a truth teller? Do you tell the truth? The most important truth telling is to yourself. I was terrible at that. I made up reasons why everything I did was okay and everything I said was okay. And, of course, it's not true. I felt like it was justified and needed and a whole bunch of other things. When I stopped doing that, tons of space freed up in my mind, in my heart, my ability to live, and my ability to simply be transparent and authentic. I have nothing to hide today. And that's how I live, with absolutely nothing to hide. And the learning to have that experience was so profoundly moving and grateful that I can't scream it loud enough from the housetops. And if you're like me or like I was at all, I want you to hear yourself here. If you're telling things to yourself that aren't true, stop. Just stop. There will be fallout, perhaps. It won't be what you think it is. That's what I learned for sure. The fallout isn't what you think at all. But make a choice, make a declaration. That's what I did and what I live in. So every time I open my mouth, including right now, the thought, the filter is, I speak only truth. Is each word true? Would it stand up to every scrutiny? And the answer is yes. And making that change was profound and moving. So I am my word means that for me. Every word I speak is truth. The second one is I do what I say. That was another terrible thing for me because I said whatever I needed to say in relationships and conversation and situations to either manipulate the situation so I could live with it, be safe in it, or to get some outcome. Maybe I had an intention to do whatever it was. I don't even know. I just lived creating that. So that has changed also. I speak only truth and I do what I say. There's an interesting side effect to that, and that is because I'm a lot more careful about what I say, because I'm a lot more careful, I hear every word I say. And then I say, okay, I've said that. I'm going to do that. That will happen. I will do that thing or cause it to be done because I said it. And that has also created a profound change. So when I say things to people in my family, my wife Joy, others that live here with us, or anyone, I listen to myself carefully and I do exactly what I say. And that's a second meaning for me. A third meaning is I am who I seem. So I speak only truth. I do what I say, and I am who I seem. The reason I added that one, and there's a little appendage to that, is I am who I seem with no camouflage, duplicity, or guile. Now, guile is kind of an old word that means deception or skullduggery, or you're trying to, sneak something. And that, I needed to add those things. No camouflage, duplicity, or guile, because so often maybe we console ourselves and say we're not exactly, lying about something, but we don't allow the truth of something to be clear. We intentionally obfuscate or hide or leave out or omit. So I needed to add that so that I was perfectly clear with myself who I declared myself to be. So that's the first set of meanings. And it's the obvious ones, right? I am, right? I am my word. And so I speak only truth. I do what I say. I am who I seem, with no camouflage, duplicity, or guile. Now, that's only part one, and a more profound and deeper meaning and much greater power has emerged. And I'll tell you how. And this has directly to do with you discovering your gifts, serving with them, and creating the impact and the income you might want in your life. The impact on others, the good you want to add to the world, and the income that you can create. Remember, money, income, it's just energy that we trade. That's all it is. And we've created this absurd religion around money that doesn't really mean anything, but it wrecks a lot of interactions and a lot of things that go on anyway. So the next piece of I am my word, I started to meditate a lot about how my body, literally how my body and how my mind, my attitudes, what I call my context, or if you do martial arts, it's your stance, how your stance is in the world, your energetic stance, your, how you show up, who you're being. I realized that my words create those things. And it might be a stretch at first to think that your words create your body. But I want you to think about this. Whatever your religious predispositions are, some organizing intelligence created the universe. It is far, far, far too marvelous to be anything else but an intelligent, intentional creation. I have a funny story about that. There was an astronomer, and I've forgotten his name, but it was in the 1800s, I think. And they were studying solar system, and they just, made planetary discoveries and, different things. And so this guy that was an astronomer built a model. I'm sure you've seen one where there's the sun in the middle and then the planets. It's like a 3D model, and it has chains, and you can turn a crank, and the planets rotate around the sun in the middle. And depending on how detailed it is, there might even be moons that rotate around some of the planets. Although I've never seen one with all the moons of Jupiter, which I love that, by the way, because I created an album of music once called Moons of Jupiter that had, it was a thematic set of music with information from the Voyager flyby of the planet Jupiter. If you're interested in that stuff, it's on Spotify. But anyway, so it was quite an elaborate model. And I've seen one like that, and you probably have too. Anyway, so a friend came in and saw this amazing model and just said, wow, this is just amazing. Turned a crank and watched all the planets move and all these things. And his friend said, this is just astounding. Where did you get this? Or how did you build this? Like, where did you get it? And the astronomer feigned surprise, said, I don't know. I just came in the room one day and there it was. All complete with all of its complexity and gears and mechanical perfection. And just there it was. And the friend, of course, thought he was joking and laughed and said, okay, that's funny. Ha, ha, ha. But where did you get it? No, really. And they went back and forth a few times. And the friend got frustrated a little bit and said, come on, that can't be. I mean, look at this thing. And finally, the astronomer turned to his friend and said, but that is what you tell me happened with the real thing. And then there was a great silence, and Holy crap. So the friend basically was claiming that this universe just appeared by itself, right? And that's what can't have happened. But the illustration was this mechanical marvel, which is a fractional, tiny representation of it. He could not believe in any universe, just created itself. But, of course, he subscribed to the theory that everything created itself in real life. Anyway, so you're a divine being. That means you came from, call it the universe, God. You came from the Creator, intentionally crafted. So with that in mind, that means you have unlimited potential. Wow, what a thought. And if the Creator organized this entire universe with all of its amazing complexity, which we're just beginning to dabble in as we understand, zero-point energy and wave theory and all the rest of the magnificence, and that's just the physical part. That doesn't even have to do with the spiritual or awareness or consciousness part. It all started with words. The words of the Creator. Now in different religious texts, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Now, I've often thought a funny thing about that. And, people dismiss that as, well, it's just some kind of mythology. But you know what I wondered? I wondered what it would be like to teach calculus to an ant. Now, I used to tutor calculus in college. I had a math scholarship. And so understanding how to teach calculus is real for me. I did tutoring in that. And the thought of trying to teach calculus to an ant is both funny and, impossibly daunting, right? And what I thought one day was, okay, wait a minute. Maybe let there be light is as good as it gets for us in terms of our level of comprehension and understanding about what actually happened. Maybe we're just the ant in our ability to comprehend what it really takes to organize the space. Anyway, so what that has to do with is this. You and I were infinite and creative beings. It is not even surprising or a stretch to say, I am my word. My word creates. Now, one thing that's easy to see is my word creates my internal thoughts, creates my emotions, creates my energy, creates the actions, and therefore I actualize my word. And that's an sort of easy and obvious path to I am my word. But I think it goes deeper than that. And that is the very act of speaking things creates them. They are created. And you might think I'm whack, and that's okay. But I don't see why that isn't possible. Things already exist. There is a reality in which anything you want or have thought or have spoken exists. The challenge that we have here, discovering our gifts, turning them into talents that we use to serve others, and then creating businesses if we want to. The challenge is pulling that already existing possibility into concrete reality. That's the challenge. And it breaks down when we think, oh, we can't, we're too late, it's too hard, I don't know how, I don't have time, I have too many obligations. You've heard it all. Maybe you've said it all. I certainly have. But what I discover now as I work on this road to 50 million, and quite literally, this road to 50 million is all I do every day. I get up and I think, how can I reach one more person, 2 more, 10 more, get on another television show, invite another person to the podcast or to LA Talk Radio? How can I do that to help them with their gifts and talents? As I mentioned that tonight at 4 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Mountain, and 7 o'clock Eastern on LA Talk Radio. So like Los Angeles, LA Talk Radio, oneword.com. I have a live show. Chris Dorris is coming tonight. I'm excited. He's a great guy. He's been on my podcast before, and I was on his show. This live stream tonight will be fantastic, so I'd encourage you to watch it. You create with your thoughts and your words. Those are facts. If you neglect them, you won't create much. That's a sad but true and stark reality. My commitment is to help 50 million people to discover their gifts and to serve with them. If I can help you, I'd love to. Please reach out. Let me help you if I can. I'm offering encouragement. I have all kinds of things that I do to help. But I want you to understand your divinity and your capability to create anything you want and have the impact and income, if you want that, from your gifts and talents. I am in awe every time I meet a new person on my podcast or even on Lunch Club, which is one of the networking tools I use. I meet so many amazing people, and I'm just in awe of their gifts and accomplishments, and it just reinforces the truth. You, right here, right now, are a divine being. You can create anything you want, and you can have anything you want. The only question is, are you willing to walk the road that goes from where you are to that place you dream? We live in a world where we think it all ought to be automatic and easy, and it's not, never was, and never will be. But you can have what you want if you choose to be the person that creates such a thing. Thanks for being with me today, and I'll see you tomorrow on the road to 50 million.